Nick Kyrgios was never supposed to become a tennis superstar. He warmed up in basketball jerseys, partied in pubs hours before matches, argued with fans, umpires, and sometimes even himself. And yet somehow, Nick Kyrgios may have been the most talented tennis player the sport has ever seen. He beat Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. And on his best days, well, he made it look easy. So how did someone this talented become one of the biggest what-ifs in tennis history? From the moment Nick Kyrgios arrived on tour, something about him felt different. He wasn't polished, he wasn't disciplined, but his raw talent and shot making was truly unbelievable. And in the summer of 2014, the entire tennis world found out why. At just 19 years old, ranked outside the top 100 in the world, Kyrgios stepped onto center court at Wimbledon for a fourth-round match against Rafael Nadal. For context, Nadal was already a 14-time Grand Slam champion, and going into this match, he was holding the world #1 ranking. By all means, he was already considered, by fans and peers alike, to be one of the greatest tennis players to ever do it. By every metric and stat, Nick Kyrgios had no shot to win this match, but he walked onto center court like he belonged there. He wasn't intimidated, he played loose, most would even say reckless, ripping 130-mile-per-hour serves and winners that seemed utterly impossible. Against one of the greatest tennis players in history, Nick Kyrgios looked completely unafraid. After splitting the first two sets, the third set would go the distance to a tiebreaker. Up to this point, the match had been played neck and neck. Kyrgios was holding his own, but neither player had been able to pull ahead. Deadlocked at 5-all in the breaker, Kyrgios served his way to a set point, 6-5 Kyrgios. Let's tune into center court to see what happened. Nick Kyrgios was one set away from pulling off one of the greatest upsets in tennis history. It's at this point when everyone expected Nadal to make a pushback into this match, but Kyrgios had other plans, as early in the fourth set, Kyrgios would secure a break on Rafa Nadal's serve, taking a commanding 3-1 lead. With every point and every shot, the entire tennis world watched in disbelief as Kyrgios pushed closer to achieving the impossible. Let's tune back into center court, with Kyrgios now leading 5-3, 40 love on serve, and triple match point firmly in his grasp.
Stunning upset here on center court. The world #1 has been eliminated.
A tennis superstar had been born. Nick Kyrgios would spend the next few years proving that his 2014 Wimbledon run wasn't just a fluke. In 2015 at Madrid, Kyrgios would back it up on clay in his inaugural match against his idol, Roger Federer, where he would come back from a set down to win the match 6-7, 7-6, 7-6, edging out Federer 14-12 in the deciding third set tiebreak and making this match an instant classic. By the end of the tournament, he had climbed to a career-high ranking of 30 in the world. The hype was real. Kyrgios didn't play tennis the way it was supposed to be played. He improvised. He took risks constantly and most of the time completely unnecessarily. He hit shots most players wouldn't even attempt every single time he took the court. And what truly made Kyrgios so dangerous was his serve. He had effortless power, incredible precision, and for most opponents, it was nearly impossible to break him.
No way. Outrageous shot.
In 2016, Kyrgios would take another step forward, claiming his first singles title, an ATP 250 in Marseille. Following that up with another 250 title in Atlanta.
20 years old, he just won his second ATP World Tour singles title.
And claiming his first ever ATP 500 championship in Tokyo.
The end of a Kyrgios carnival this week of some magical tennis. It's resilience and a will to fight today that sees this next-gen star land the biggest title of his career.
Before the year's end, he had reached a new career-high ranking of 13 in the world, solidifying himself as one of tennis's top talents. Kyrgios would continue to ascend in 2017 and prove that he wasn't just a big server who could win the occasional ATP 250. He could beat the very best in the world, and he did it time and time again.
I mean, this guy is just amazing.
He would meet Djokovic twice at Indian Wells and Acapulco, beating him both times in straight sets.
Makes it 2 in a row against Novak Djokovic.
And he would follow that up with another win over Rafael Nadal.
And the final blow was delivered to Cincinnati as Nick Kyrgios knocks Rafael Nadal out.
This time in Cincinnati, again in straight set fashion. King Kyrgios had fully arrived, and he was far and away the most talented, creative, and exhilarating player on tour. But for Nick Kyrgios, talent was never the problem. Open-era prints creates modern tennis artwork inspired by the sport's most iconic moments, players, and eras. Every design is made to capture the feeling of tennis, whether it's the elegance of grass season, the chaos of clay, or those late-night hardcourt battles we all remember. So if you want your room, office, or setup to actually feel like tennis, go to openeraprints.com. Clean designs, timeless moments, made for people who love the sport as much as we do. Purchasing a print goes a long way in supporting the channel. Links in the video description. As I was saying, tennis has always celebrated discipline, precision, and control. And while Nick Kyrgios, he represented everything that was the exact opposite of that. He would frequently argue with umpires.
Every single time I play, he's doing something stupid. Every time.
Yell at fans.
Relax. Are you playing? Are you good at tennis? Exactly. So why are you faking? If I tell him how to act, no.
And what became more and more common were full-on meltdowns.
He's not just ignored Fergus Murphy. Yeah.
To some fans, Kyrgios was exactly what tennis needed. To others, he was everything wrong with the sport. One thing was certain, tennis didn't know how to handle him.
Time violation warning.
Picked up a time violation.
He can serve the ball. He can serve the ball. He can serve the ball. I'm ready. I'm returning, bro. Serve the ball.
This is getting a little farcical, isn't it now?
And as the fines piled up, so did the frustration, because beneath all the chaos was a player everyone knew could be great. Every outburst, every meltdown, every match thrown away felt like watching potential disappear in real time.
Yes, you are likely to see.
It's all, bro.
Nick Kyrgios wasn't just becoming tennis' biggest controversy. He was becoming its greatest unanswered question.
This was not easy tonight to have to deal with Kyrgios' behaviour. We're not going to hear the end of this, and what he did at the end was quite frankly disgusting.
The biggest opponent in Nick Kyrgios' career was never Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic. It was always going to be himself. Behind the anger, the fines, and the headlines, Nick Kyrgios was struggling in ways the public couldn't see. While the tennis world saw a player wasting his talent, Kyrgios would later admit he was battling depression, loneliness, and self-destructive thoughts throughout his rise to stardom, making those years some of the darkest of his life.
I hated the kind of person I was.
Tennis made Nick famous, but it never seemed to truly make him happy. At the height of his career, while millions watched him entertain crowds around the world, Kyrgios says privately he was falling apart. He later revealed that during some of his darkest moments on tour, he would wake up in the morning hating himself. And slowly, the chaos surrounding his career started to feel less like rebellion and more like someone struggling to hold it all together. Because beneath the talent, the fame, and the controversy, Nick Kyrgios was losing the battle with himself.
What was the absolute rock bottom moment for you when you look back at that period?
Oh, I don't think there was one select moment. I think it was just all a year and a half to 2 years of just complete harm. I think it was pretty dark, to be honest.
By 2020, as the COVID-19 pandemic brought the world to a standstill, it felt like Nick Kyrgios' story had already been written. A wasted talent, a distraction, another player who could have been great, but never truly wanted it badly enough. The outbursts continued. The inconsistency never disappeared. And as the years passed, the idea of Nick Kyrgios becoming a Grand Slam champion slowly started feeling less like a possibility and more like a fantasy. The talent had always been there, but the question was for Nick if he would ever fully embrace it. In 2022, Kyrgios would return to tour after multiple extended stints battling with injuries. And for the first time in years, Kyrgios looked a little different. He wasn't calmer, and he definitely wasn't perfect, but he looked more focused than he had ever been before. He would open his season by teaming up with his childhood friend, Thanasi Kokkinakis, after finding themselves with a wild card into the Australian Open's doubles draw. They weren't expected to contend for a title, but being the hometown favorites, they were sure to put on a show. And for the first time in years, Kyrgios didn't look like someone fighting against the sport. He looked like someone finally enjoying it again. playing alongside one of his closest friends with an entire country cheering him on. The pressure that had followed him for so long suddenly seemed lighter. Little by little, the version of Nick Kyrgios that the tennis world had been waiting for slowly started to reappear. And against all expectations, the Special Ks would go on to complete a Cinderella run, claiming the Australian Open Doubles Championship. And perhaps for Nick Kyrgios, reclaiming a piece of himself. After years of chaos, controversy, and self-destruction, it finally felt like things were turning around. For the first time in nearly a decade, Nick Kyrgios wasn't just one of the most entertaining players on tour. He was becoming one of the most dangerous. As summer came around, with it came Wimbledon. For years, Wimbledon had represented both the beginning of Nick Kyrgios' rise and the constant reminder of what he could have become. It was the place where the tennis world first saw his talent, and now, 8 years later, it became the place where he would put everything together. From the opening rounds, Kyrgios looked explosive. The energy was still there, the swagger never disappeared. But now, there was something else. Composure. The outbursts became less frequent, the focus stayed longer, and match by match, the belief around him started to grow. His serve was nearly untouchable, his shot making looked effortless. For the first time in his career, Kyrgios wasn't just surviving deep into a Grand Slam, he looked completely comfortable there. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Kyrgios' third-round match against Stefanos Tsitsipas, where he would revert to some old tactics and behaviors in what would ultimately become an all-out circus with both players making fools of themselves.
Well, he probably would have lost a game. Should have already been defaulted.
But somehow, Kyrgios prevailed. And suddenly, the idea of Nick Kyrgios winning Wimbledon no longer felt ridiculous. It felt real. As he advanced through the draw, center court began to rally behind him. Every impossible winner, every underarm serve, even every outburst, the entire tennis world watched in disbelief. Because whether people loved him or hated him, everyone understood they were watching something unforgettable. Kyrgios had advanced to the semifinals, and with it came Rafael Nadal. One win stood between him and his first ever Grand Slam final, and a day before that semifinal match, Rafa Nadal withdrew from the tournament, citing an abdominal tear as the culprit. And just like that, Nick Kyrgios walked through to his first ever Grand Slam singles final. After years of controversy, disappointment, and questions about whether he would ever fulfill his potential, he was one win away from a Wimbledon championship. Standing across the net from him in the final was the one player who defined this era of tennis more than anyone else, Novak Djokovic. With 20 Grand Slams already to his name, he was a surefire favorite to win this match, but for Kyrgios, there was certainly hope. Djokovic had never beat Kyrgios. He was 0-2, with both losses coming in 2017 at Indian Wells and Acapulco. But that was 5 years ago, and a lot had changed since then. With a win in this match, Djokovic would pass Federer on the all-time slam list. For Kyrgios, a win would cement him as tennis royalty. For both players, the stakes couldn't have been any higher.
I never thought that I'd be playing for the actual men's title. I feel like it's the pinnacle of tennis. You know, once you are able to raise a Grand Slam trophy, that's like, I mean, kind of what else is there to achieve?
Out on the court, and let's listen to this. This is the moment. Yeah, a great set of tennis.
Nick Kyrgios had finally arrived at the moment the tennis world had been waiting nearly a decade to see. And after a dominant first set performance, Kyrgios was just 2 sets away from a Wimbledon championship. It's important to note that at this point, Kyrgios was now 5-0 in head-to-head set record against Djokovic. But as the match wore on, Djokovic's experience slowly took control. Every small lapse in focus was punished, every missed opportunity became costly, and while Kyrgios had the talent to overwhelm anyone in the world, Djokovic had spent over a decade mastering how to win on tennis' biggest stage.
Wimbledon, a 21st Grand Slam.
In the end, the moment wasn't too big for Nick Kyrgios. Novak Djokovic was simply too much. In the years that followed Wimbledon, injuries would once again pull Nick Kyrgios away from the sport, just as it finally felt like he had figured everything out. And maybe that's what makes his story so difficult to define. Because depending on who you ask, Nick Kyrgios was either a wasted talent or one of the most gifted players tennis has ever seen. To some, he'll always be remembered for the controversies, the outbursts, and the chaos. But to others, Kyrgios represented something tennis rarely allowed its players to be: human, flawed, emotional, and unpredictable. He frustrated fans, shocked the entire tennis world, and spent nearly his entire career at war with the expectations placed on him. And yet, despite everything, when Nick Kyrgios stepped onto a tennis court, people watched. Because for all the inconsistency, all the unfinished potential, and all the questions surrounding his career, there was always the feeling that you were just watching something different. Maybe Nick Kyrgios never became the champion many believed he could, but for nearly a decade, he made tennis feel unpredictable. He made it feel alive. And in a sport built on control and tradition, that may be the best legacy after all. I'd like to thank each and every one of you who made it this far into the video. This is my first ever video, and I poured a lot of time and energy into it, so your comments and feedback mean the world. If you did enjoy, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. It helps out tremendously, and I'd really like to grow this channel into something special as I have much more tennis content to come in the future. I've been Open Era Tennis, and thank you for watching.